I do things different, and you'll learn this very quickly with how I go. But I'm not going to introduce myself first. I'm going to start with an exercise. And since we're on a college campus and I'm wearing my red for Ed, I'm going to take us all back to 3rd grade. Do we have any 3rd graders in the room? A little young? All right, so does everyone remember 3rd grade? Yeah, assuming you had to get there to get here, hopefully. So in 3rd grade, we learn how to read out loud, read to friends, and everything like that. So let's all go back into the mindset of 3rd graders. So I'm going to put a phrase up on the screen, and what I would like all of us 3rd graders, a big 3rd grade class, to do, I would like us all to read the phrase all together. All right, so to make sure you understand what I'm talking about, go ahead and read what you see on the screen now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Read the phrase. That's pretty good. Usually I have to do it a couple times for people to realize I have to do it out loud. All right, so here's the phrase. On the count of 3, everyone read it together. 1, 2, 3. Fear of being a failure is one of the most effective forms of freezing innovation. Another is fear of being successful. Wow. Well done. Thank you. Overachiever at the bottom reading the copyright. It's pretty deep, isn't it? That's not the point. Okay, so congratulations, 3rd grade. You've all graduated. Now we're moving on to 4th grade. And in 4th grade, we're going to work with some numbers. Now, don't worry, it's not going to be Common Core 4th grade numbers. I've got a 4th grader. Division is difficult now. So in 4th grade, we're working with numbers, but something else happens in 4th grade. We stop sharing. So I'm going to put the phrase back on the screen, and I do not want you to read it aloud because your neighbors will copy off of you. All right? These are lessons that we teach our children. So I'm going to put the phrase up on the screen, and all I want you to do is simply count the number of F's in the phrase. Right? Just count the number of F's. Don't count out loud. Don't read out loud. You're going to have 15 seconds to count the number of F's in the phrase. That orange dot there is going to be a little countdown timer. You'll see that disappearing as 15 seconds disappears. All right? Once 15 seconds is expired, what I want you to do is either remember or write down the number you got. Don't let your neighbors see because they will cheat and copy. All right? Can everyone accomplish that? All right, here comes the phrase. 15 seconds begins now. And there's time. All right, so go ahead and write it down and remember it if you can. All right, so first question I have for you is, who got it right? Please raise your hands. Okay, it's 2 sentences, 4th graders. Raise your hand if you got it right. Keep it up, be proud, be proud. Okay, asked a different way. On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you got the right answer? Is anyone 5 or below in confidence? A 6, 7 in confidence, 8, 9 in confidence, 10 in confidence? Fantastic. Okay, so on the count of 3, I would like this entire 4th grade class to shout out the number they got. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
10. 10.
So there's a reason we're still in 4th grade. All right, so I heard anything from 7 to 16?
I think 10.
10, you're certain, right? 10, everyone is certain. 11, certain. Certain. There are 12 F's. 12 F's in the free. Who said 5? Someone said 5. Very proud 5. I heard a very proud 5. All right, there are 12 F's. So where are they? Let's look at this again. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Stupid. All right, so what's going on? The lesson here is that under stress, our brains take shortcuts. Under stress, our brains take shortcuts. So the stresses that I introduced were, we had 15 seconds to accomplish a task. We had a tick, 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 tick going, or the 60 minutes, the sound from that. Right, we had the thing disappearing. I introduced some competition. Don't let your neighbor copy off of you. Those are all stresses for our brain. And so the shortcut that your brain took was fear, that's an F. Failure, that's an F. Of, that's a V. And so your brain literally skipped over that F because it saw it as a V. You're looking at the letter F and you read it as a V and your brain said, nope, keep going. Now, I could have showed this to you, told you there were 12, and you still would have said, no, there's 10. Right? Because your brain is locked in that way. So, I teach what are called the principles of human understanding. And now, these are neurology, neuroscience, and psychology principles that I've developed that help us understand communication, help us understand leadership, help us understand success. All right? So the first one that I want to teach you guys is the illusion of certainty. Now, she got it already. How many people were certain they had the right answer? How many people actually had the right answer? Look around the room. Not a hand in the air. Okay? Everyone was a 7, 8, or 9, or 10 in certainty, and yet nobody had it right. That's the illusion of certainty. What that means is that our brain likes to project certainty even when there is none. Now, how does that show up? That shows up when someone asks us a question. What do? Give an answer. Because our brain says, yeah, this is the right answer. And we give an answer. Whether it's actually right or not, our brain says, yeah, that's probably right, and we do it. Right? We do this all the time. If you're ever a boss of somebody or a parent of somebody, you say, when are you going to get this done? And the person says, I'll have it done by next week. And then they fail to meet their own self-imposed deadline. That's the illusion of certainty. Right? They're certain that they can get it done in that amount of time. Right? We've probably done that ourselves. Right? That's the illusion of certainty. It's always around us. It's important to be aware of these things because the illusion of certainty will come back and get you in trouble. Right? It's important. You can't get rid of it. It's part of who we are as humans. Right? Now, question. What is the most valuable company in the world by market capitalization? Don't share it. We're getting into 5th grade, some economics here. As of the opening bell in the stock market this morning, they had a $906 billion market capitalization. Okay, it's a company, you've heard of it. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you can think of the right answer? Anyone 5 or below in confidence? Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Did anyone say Apple? All right, very good. Now, if I were to show you the Apple logo, would you recognize it? All right, without looking at your phone or an iPad or anything like that. Right? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you you can recognize the Apple logo? Anyone 5 or below? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? Fantastic. So everyone's about a 10. Which one? Come on, you guys are confident, right?
5. 3. 5.
11.
Without looking at your phone. In 5th grade, we start cheating too. If you said anything but 9, you were wrong. So what you just experienced is the illusion of certainty fading away. Yes, I know it. I know it. I don't really know it. And I just warned you that the illusion of certainty is always present, and yet you still said 10 in confidence. Right? It's important to understand that the illusion of certainty is always there. So, why do I talk about this? Well, you come into a session like this, or come to a speech like this, and you say, I know what to expect. I'm good at this stuff already. I know. Maybe you don't. Maybe when you go into a session and you think you're not going to get anything out of it, maybe that's the illusion of certainty present for you. So I invite you, instead of looking at all the things that you already know, look for the things you don't yet know. Right? It's really important because that's where development happens. Development doesn't happen in the space of things you already know. Even if, let's say, you know 95% of what I'm about to say today, look for the 5% you don't yet know. Because that's where growth happens. Anyone ever been a baseball coach? Right? You tell a kid, you say, all right, pick up your back elbow, and you'll have a much stronger swing through it. And the kid says, yeah, I did that last time. Well, what's the point of the coach? Right? It's not about saying, yes, I already know, illusion of certainty. It's about looking for the things you don't yet know. When someone gives you feedback, instead of resisting, saying that can't be right, which is what we typically do, let's look for the truth in it, especially critical feedback. Right? Eric, you talk too much. No, I don't. I'm just really good at connecting with people. What if there's truth in that statement? That's an opportunity for me to grow. All right, so what are we doing here today? We're going to talk about success, we're going to talk about failure, we're going to talk about a bunch of really powerful things, all through the lens of my principles of human understanding. All right, so let's look at this graph. You've probably seen it before. Does anyone know what this curve is? We have change and we have time. It's an exponential curve. Any techies out here? Anyone know what this is? This is Moore's law. So Moore's law is the idea that the amount of information you get on a silicon chip will double, the cost will half, and the size will half every 3 years. So every 3 years, silicon chips will get twice as powerful, twice as small, and half as expensive. Every 3 years. Which is why nowadays you probably have a supercomputer sitting on the table. A computer that to get that much power would have cost the land of this entire campus not 50 years ago. Right? It's crazy, right? That's what's happening. So we have amazing technologies coming out like self-driving cars. Right? You think about what happened with self-driving cars just 10 years ago, and I usually show a video, we don't have time for it, but it was a DARPA challenge, it was like a Department of something, military, something, to develop self-driving technology. And you'd see these little robotic cars with gigantic cameras and things and sensors crashing into walls and running over hay bales because they just could not do it. But now, we've got folks like Waymo, which is a Google company, literally driving people around downtown Chandler with no one in the driver's seat. Now I'm thinking, that sounds fantastic. I can get to work and work while I'm on my way to work. I can text and drive and not kill anybody. Right? Don't text and drive. Right? But for all of the wonderful goodness self-driving cars will give us, not everyone feels as warm and fuzzy. So I'm going to show you a little video of a woman for the first time in a self-driving vehicle. It's a Tesla on autopilot mode, so go ahead and enjoy this. There is some choice words in here, but they are bleeped out, so don't worry. All right? We've got kids in the room. Here we go.
This car is coming. Oh, this car is. Bill, this. Put me back for me to control it. Oh, dear Jesus. I could never. Oh, where's it going? Oh, my God. Oh, this is so scary. Oh, Jesus. It's my first day out now. I'm about to die.
Oh, come on, relax.
Oh my God, Bill! I couldn't do it. Oh, is the car coming? Just, oh my God, it is. Oh, it's
Yeah, hit the brakes, hit the brakes.
Oh, my
Right.
Jesus.
So not everyone feels as comfortable with self-driving technology as we do. All right, so Astro Teller, who's the CEO of Google X, which is the same spin-off company that started their self-driving project, he overlaid Moore's law with this curve, which is a linear curve, right? It's a little flatter, but it's also going up. And this curve represents humans' ability to adapt. Now the funny thing is, so at the bottom, this is a timeline, right? So we are currently here. We are now at a place where technology is increasing faster than humans can adapt to it, which is kind of scary. It's kind of scary, right? So here's what I mean. We're all not going to experience the self-driving car. But we all know about smart home technology, smart thermostats, smart door locks, smart cameras, smart dogs, I don't know. We got smart everything, right? Well, has anyone ever had the experience of having a package stolen off their front door, an Amazon package? It's terrifying, right? It's like, oh, someone came and took my thing, but you don't know that because you weren't home, so maybe it didn't get delivered, but it said it was, right? Terrifying, right? We don't know what's going on. So Amazon says, we have the solution. We will sell you an Amazon smart door lock and an Amazon camera inside of your house. And then, when the Amazon delivery person comes to your house, they'll scan the package at your front door lock will unlock, the delivery driver will open your door, come into your house, set the package down, wave at the camera, and then shut the door. The door will lock, and they'll leave on their way. Nope. That product is currently on the market, being sold by Amazon today. We are currently here. Right? You just had the experience that that lady had with technology, right? Now that's where we are. So, and Forbes says the ability to innovate, the ability to adapt is the ability to compete. Looking to the future, the faster we can adapt, the more able we are to compete in the future. Because where we are in time, the people that can adapt best and adapt fastest will be the ones that are more successful. What that means is you're going to have to let go of some of your ideas. That's tough. All right, so in my past, I was a change management consultant with Cotter International. Cotter International, if that name kind of sounds familiar, you've taken any business classes, you've read probably Leading Change or Iceberg is Melting, written by John Cotter. I worked for him. He's written 20 books, Harvard professor of 45 years. And he went into organizations over the course of 3 decades and figured out why some of them were successful at change and why some of them failed at change. And he found that the percentage of change initiatives that fail was 70%. 70% of change initiatives fail. And so then the thing is, well, why does that happen? Why is that happening over and over and over again? Right? And then people tell us all the time, failure makes you more likely to succeed. You've heard that? Right? Believe it?
Yes.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. Here, does anyone have a scratch piece of paper? Like a notepad you can tear a page off of? I need someone to ball up a piece of paper. Anyone have a notepad that can ball up a piece of paper?
Yeah.
Well, don't take the agenda. We kind of need that. Yeah, go ahead and ball that up. Go ahead and ball up a piece of paper. Just make a ball. Make the ball out of the paper. Yeah. All right. Make a basket. Make a basket. No, from there. Go ahead. Make a basket. All right. You're gonna have another chance. Is she more likely to make it a second time?
Yes.
She just failed.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
You think she's more likely to make it this time?
Yes.
No standing from where you were. So, is she more likely to make it a third time? No, she's not more likely because she missed. Right? We have this idea that failure makes us more likely to succeed. It's not the failure. It's not the failure. It's the lesson we may or may not. Here, you can have that as a souvenir. It's the lesson we may or may not take from the failure that will help us be more successful in the future. That's like saying, I don't know, the Suns, Phoenix Suns. They didn't win many games this season, right? But let's think every time they lost a game, did that make them more likely to win the next?
No.
When you put money in the slot machine and you don't win, are you more likely to win next time?
No.
When you play the lottery and you fail, are you more likely to win the next time? No. Failure doesn't make us more likely to succeed. If someone failed at starting 10 businesses, would you give them your investment dollars? But, right? It's not about failure making us more likely to succeed. Interestingly enough, there's a bunch of research on failure, and they tracked some doctors and surgeons looking at a new heart procedure, which is really, really dangerous. They actually had to stop the heart for about 3 minutes and then change the valves up and get it started again. And they have a new procedure where they don't have to stop the heart anymore. However, that means that thousands of doctors all need to learn this new procedure, which is very dangerous. Okay? And unfortunately, a lot of people died during the process of learning the new thing. Okay? Now, fewer people died learning it than were dying with the old thing, because the new method is way safer, way better. But what they wanted to see is, if a doctor failed, there's easy metrics on pass or fail on this, right? Easy metrics. When a doctor failed, were they more likely to succeed the next time? And we want to say, what did you say? Yes, we want to say yes, because they learned. Guess what? They didn't. They didn't. Failure did not make the doctors better the next time. But interesting, watching their neighbor fail made them better. Right? So if we're both doing it, right, and I see you fail, I will learn the lessons of your failure. But if I fail, you know why I don't learn? Because I didn't fail. My instruments failed. I didn't have enough resources. I'm putting all of the blame, all of the lesson outside of me, and then there's nothing for me to learn. Right? Now the interesting thing, it flip-flops with success. When I'm successful, I am more likely to be more successful because I learn from my own successes because I point success at me. And if I see you succeed, I don't learn anything. And it must have been your instruments. You get better lighting than I did, right? Interesting thing, failure does not make you more likely to succeed. However, observing other people, learning lessons, that's what makes you more likely to succeed. So if anyone ever tells you this, just tell them, that's not exactly true. And then ask them to throw a piece of paper in a wastebasket, right? It's kind of fun doing that. Every time I do it, I'm like, please don't make it, please don't make it. All right, so I want to talk to you guys about this new number system that's rolling out. It should be coming out to MCC. It's swept across ASU and swept across GCC. It's a new number system coming out, and it's more efficient. It's safer. It's easy to calculate. I'm just making up a story, right? It's a new number system. However, what they said, I talked to the procurement department. If in this class anyone can learn the new number system, they will give you a bonus check of $200. This is a bank. Okay? So there's some incentive to learn this number system. Okay? It's going to go live in about 10 minutes. All right? You can use any method to learn or memorize this new number system outside of taking a picture of it. All right? You cannot take a picture of it, but you have 10 minutes to learn it. You can use any method of learning you want to. You can reference notes if you want to. All right? You have 10 minutes to learn this new number system. Wait, what's that? Oh, holy smokes, 5 minutes. Going live in 5 minutes. This new number system is going very, very fast. I notice a lot of people committing it to memory. That's interesting. Only a couple people committing it to paper. All right, it's going live in 1 minute. 1 minute for the new number system. Still no one's writing down. It just went live. Holy smokes, went live. Okay, so to get your $200 bonus check, please write down the new number system. Write down this pin, 1258. I'm going to ask you a question while you're writing. Who is currently writing the old number system? Who started by writing the old number system? Raise your hand, be proud. Be proud. The first thing that we do when we're introduced to change is we go back to the old way. The very first thing that happens when we're introduced to change is go back to the old way. All right? So, we go back to the old way. We write 1, 2, 5, and 8. These are called Arabic numerals. So we can call them Arabic numerals. All right? Who didn't participate at all? Who didn't give it a shot? Raise your hand. Be proud. Why didn't you participate?
I didn't have a pen.
Didn't have a pen.
Yeah, no tools.
I
took a pen.
You took the pen. One person, yes.
I'm not good at math.
Not good at math. Anyone else? Why did you? I couldn't see very well.
The reward's not real.
The reward is not real. Thank you for the honesty. Anyone else? Anyone think it's a really silly idea? To be honest, I was going to say different words, but there's kids in the room, right? Right? It's not worth my time. Anyone think that? I'm not going to do this. You're just a consultant. It's going to go back the old way when you're gone. Right? It's the flavor of the week. Right? All of these are reactions to change. Right? Now think about that. I didn't have a pen. Could you have gotten a pen?
Well, yeah, I could have gotten it from the table.
Right? If you wanted to,
Yeah.
you could have. Right? If the reward was big enough, I might have given it a shot. Bless you. Right? But all of these are just excuses, aren't they? They're masking something else. I'm going to talk about what that is. Right? Now remember that 70% of innovation efforts fail. 70% fail. They fail because of two reasons. One, fear, and the other is frustration. Fear and frustration. So, let's look at fear. If you started that way, it means that you don't understand how to do it. If you wrote the old numbers and you went back to the old way, it means you don't understand how. If you say it's not worth my time, I'm not going to do this, that means you don't understand why. You don't understand why. Why does it even matter? If you said it's going to go back the old way, I don't understand you, sir, Mr. Guy wearing a red tie. I don't understand you. So I don't understand why I need to be doing this, right? Now, you look at this. This is the way I introduced the new number system. Do not waste your time writing this down, because I'm going to introduce to you a way to memorize the new number system. It will take you less than 5 seconds to memorize it, and you'll be able to remember it for the rest of your life without writing anything down. Anyone believe me?
No.
Just like the $200. Like, yeah, right. All right, here we go. This is the new number system explained a different way. That sound is your brain relaxing with understanding, right? The first way, it's like, yeah, forget it, it's too hard, because you don't understand it. When we roll out change, we have new ideas, new innovative ideas. If we just say, this is the best new thing, and people don't understand what that means, we're going to fail. They're not going to get on board, they're going to fail. If we roll out something and they have that, we really should do Connect for Success because it helps us be more successful, it will be more successful. It's pretty powerful when you start to realize how that works. Now, all of these principles that I introduced are not just about school, obviously. These are fundamental human principles that you can apply everywhere, right? You want to convince a spouse about something? Give them this, not that, right? Help them understand, right? So, understanding that change is hard, innovation is hard, success is hard, but our brains actually relax with understanding. If you pay attention to the energy in the room, when I showed that hashtag, number symbol, pound sign, depending on your generation, right? It actually relaxed. The energy relaxed because people went, shoulders went down. Pretty powerful when you start to realize how powerful this is. So, when people say, I don't understand, that means I don't trust. And that is all based in fear. So all of these things, I don't understand how, I don't understand why, I don't understand you, that's all fear. It's all fear. And if you want folks to understand why you should be successful, help them understand you. If you want to be successful, you should understand what you want to do. Now, my consulting firm has been around for about 18 months, and we are the fastest growing municipal consulting firm in Arizona. I work almost exclusively with municipalities, which means local governments. I work with City of Phoenix, Scottsdale, Maricopa, Tucson, Mesa, Tempe. Like almost every city has a local government, has a city government, has an organization. I work with all of them. I work with councils and executive teams, and I'm growing like crazy because I want to change the way the world communicates. That's my mission. Because we find ourselves so often not properly communicating. Anyone ever unfriend somebody on Facebook because of political views? Or block, or share, right? That's not helping the world come together, is it? Right? We do it all the time because it's very frustrating to see someone ranting and raving all the time about something that we don't like. But how does the world get better? If ultimately we want to make the world more unified, how does that make it better? It doesn't. Right? So what I want to do, what I'm committed to do, is helping the world communicate in different ways. I want to help people understand the things that make us unfriend people and say, is that the choice I want to make right now? What ultimately do I want? Can I figure out ultimately what they want? It's pretty powerful. All right, next principle I want to teach you is perception and reality. So we've all heard this phrase, perception equals reality, right? Yeah? Put your hand in the air if you believe it to be true. Put your hand in the air if you believe it to be false. Put your hand in the air if you did not raise your hand. Okay, thank you. All right. This is false. Perception does not equal reality. Now, if you raise your hand in the first case, don't worry, you will be redeemed. All right? This is not about making people feel bad. Let's look at the definition. Definition of perception is a way of understanding or interpreting something. The definition of reality is the state of things as they actually exist rather than as they may be perceived or might be imagined. Rather than as they may be perceived. In the definition of reality, it says, not perception. Interesting, right? But then people say, Eric, but my perception is my reality. For that, right? What does that mean? That means that my perception is the way I believe it to be. My perception is my worldview. My perception is my truth. My perception is the way I'm going to interact with the world around me. Meaning, my perception is going to guide my behaviors. Interesting. So let's say that I'm colorblind. Just so you guys know, my bachelor's degree is in graphic design, which is why my slides are so cool. Right? But let's say that I'm colorblind and I see this background not as blue, but I see it as orange. Now, as a graphic designer, would I choose orange for my highlight color if I saw the background as orange?
No.
No, thank you. I would not do that. Right? Because it's totally invisible. It would not communicate what I want it to communicate. My perception changes my behavior. We only behave based on our perception. We do not behave based on reality. Now, sometimes reality does match our perception. I get it. Sometimes it can even out. But we don't choose to behave based on reality. We choose to behave based on our perceptions. Anyone ever played the game where you go around a circle, the telephone game?
Oh,
Yeah? You're good at it, I bet. All right? So we pass around a message, and by the end of the circle, it's totally messed up. Why is it messed up? There's two people that never mess that game up. Her, obviously. Right? Two people. The first person and me. Not me, but like you, me. Like, because the argument after it's all messed up is like, yeah, but you said, but I said, but you start pointing fingers, and then you end up saying, yeah, I said exactly what you said. But it's not true, is it? I can't do that. I can only pass along not what you said, I can only pass along what I heard you say. I can only pass along my perception. Right? So it's not that perception equals reality, it's that perception's more important than reality. That's the real lesson, is perception is more important than reality. Because the entire way that we interact with the world is through our perceptions. Everything that goes into our memories are our perceptions. All right, so I'm going to show you a video that I put together. It's kind of fun, it's got a funky beat, so just enjoy it, but your brain might break, so just prepare for that. All right, here we go. Does anyone's brain hurt? It's kind of late at night for that one. But the funny thing is, I made this video, I've literally seen it 500 times, and I can't not see it blinking back and forth. I know what it's doing. I know it's going black, white, black, white. I know it's going like that, but I can't perceive it any differently than the way I perceive it. Right? I know what it's doing, and yet I can't perceive it accurately. Pretty crazy when you think about perception and reality. Here's the reason I talk about this. It's because what you say or do matters less than what they hear or feel. What you say or do is reality. I really said this. But they're not going to interact with you based on what you said. They're going to interact with you based on what they feel, their perception. Now, this is the foundation of all communication. Understanding that what you say matters less than what they hear. Is anyone married? Ever been in an argument? How often does that show up? That's not what I said. Right? It doesn't matter what you said. Right? They're going to operate based on what they heard, not what you said. Pretty powerful. So then, if you believe this to be true, then it's not on them to hear you right. It's on you to say it differently so that they hear what you want them to hear. Which means you may have to ask them, so what about what I said? Why did you hear it that way? Why did you hear it that way? What could I have said differently so that you heard this? And you start to learn the people around you. Right? You start to step over that barrier of communication, which is typically inside of you. Now, These are called the principles of human understanding because the point here is to understand humans better. The humans you interact with and the human you are. If you can understand yourself better, understand that this principle exists, understand that illusion of certainty exists, you can make better choices. You can't make them go away. You can't make these principles go away. It's part of who we are. But if you understand that they exist, you can make better choices. All right? This is my version of the telephone game. Anyone ever do that as a kid? Yeah. It never worked with plastic cups. You have to use metal cups. It works much better. Or cans. But we don't let kids play with open cans anymore. It's too dangerous. All right. So we are going to do a group exercise. Everyone should have a sheet of paper on the table, turned upside down. What I want you to do is I want you to take the words, and I'd like you to translate those words into percentages of time. So here's an example. Half of the time would be translated to 50%. All right, 50%. And if you don't quite understand, put it into a sentence like this. You get my name wrong half of the time, which we translated to you get my name wrong 50% of the time. All right, so go ahead, you can flip the paper over. You'll see there's a series of words along the left-hand side. Each of those words can be translated into a percentage of time. All right, so go ahead, I'll give you 2 minutes to go through and put down what percentage of time you think that word means. All right, ready, go. All right, so what we're going to do next is I'm over here, I'm at the back of the room now, which is the new front of the room. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go down through the list of names or words, and I'd like us all to shout out the percentage we got. At the same time, I will try to pick out a percentage, and you'll see what I do. We'll move up and down, and we'll start to track what we got. Everyone understand that? All right, so the first one we have is often. What do you got? 80. Anyone higher than 80? Anyone higher than 80? All right, I heard a 66. Anyone lower than 66? Shout it out. 60? Just shout it out. 50? Anyone lower than 50?
45.
45? Lower than 45? 40. That's our lowest. 40. Somewhere between 40 and 80. Always. 100. And I heard a 90? Anyone lower than 90? 85. Anyone lower than 85? Always is somewhere between 85 and 100. Sometimes.
30.
30. Anyone lower than 30? 20. Just shout them out. 12. Going down. No one lower than 12? 12. I heard a 60. Anyone higher than 60? 90. Anyone higher than 90? 98. Anyone higher than 98? 98.
98.5.
Did you really say 98.5? All right. All right, never. 0. Anyone higher than 0? 10. All right, so between 0 and 10. Usually. 70, 80. One higher, what'd you say? Oh, we'll go higher than 80? 90. 90. Anyone higher than 90? 95. Higher than 95? 95. I heard 80. Anyone lower than 80? 60. Lower than 60? 50. Lower than 50? 45. Here we go. Anyone lower than that? All right, 45. Most of the time. 80. 95. Anyone higher than 95? 98. Higher than 98? 99. Anyone 100? All right, anyone lower than 80? 70. 60. Going down. Anyone lower than 60? 0. Most of the time is 0. Are you just being a contrarian? Or you just rush at the end like, I got it done. So explain to me, most of the time is 0. You just messing with it? All right, I'm going to erase it. I know you wrote it, but is that what you really think? So if I say, most of the time you're totally amazing, I mean 0% of the time you're totally amazing. Is that what you'd expect? If I say most of the time, but if I say most of the time you're amazing, you would say, oh man. See, she's stubborn too, I love it. All right, so I'm going to ignore your 0, no offense. But what do we have? We had 80s, lower than 80, 75 lower than 75?
70.
70 lower than 70?
60.
60 going down. Anyone lower? 60. I'll also put 0 on here too, just so you're not left out. All right, occasionally. 50 lower than 50, 30. 20 lower than 20? 10 lower than 10. 3. Anyone lower than 3? Occasionally. 0. All right. Anyone higher than, I think we had 50? Was that the highest? 50? 75? Higher than 75? 90. Anyone higher than 90?
96.
96. Anyone higher than that? All right. Seldom.
10.
10. Lots of 10s. Anyone lower than 10? 5 lower than 5? 3 lower than 1. Anyone lower than 1 before I write it down? 0. Okay, she had 0. I'll put 1 and then in parentheses a 0. What's your name? For Melissa. Okay. I won't write that on there. All right. Anyone higher than 10? 50. Anyone higher than 50?
15.
Oh, 15. Okay, 15. 25, higher than 25? 25. All right, a lot.
70.
80, looking higher than 80. 99, anyone higher than 99? 99. All right, anyone lower than 80?
70.
70? 60? Lower than 60? 60. A lot. Almost always, don't say 0. 99. Anyone higher than 99? 100. All right. Anyone lower than 60? What, did I hear 60? Did someone say 60? 60 for almost always. Almost always. 60. What's that?
30.
30 for almost always. 10 for all. Do you guys go to the same math class? So you said 10 for almost always. Pretty clear. Okay, so make sure you're not looking at rarely or. I'm gonna write it down. Stop me if you need to. All right, rarely.
5.
5. Anyone lower than 5? 2. Lower than 2? 1. Anyone lower than 1? All right. Anyone higher than 10?
40.
40. Higher than 40? 40. 65. Higher than 65? 70. All right. Frequently.
85.
80. 100. Anyone higher than 100? All right. Anyone lower than 80? 70. 65. Lower than 65?
50.
50. Lower than 50? What's that? 35. Lower than 35? 35. Quite often.
88.
75.
A 0 from Melissa again. All right. She was just rushed to get it done at the end. All right. Anyone higher than 0? 70. Higher than 70? 88. 95. Higher than 95? 95. Outside of Melissa's 0. Anyone lower than 50?
40.
40. Lower than 40? 40. 40. 40. All right. So, what do you notice about this board?
Wild.
Say that again?
Perception is wild.
Perception is wild. Now, does-
Generalizations.
Generalizations. So, do any of these responses startle you?
Yes.
Which ones?
70.
Yeah, rarely at 70. All right. Anyone think 85 for always is startling?
Yeah. Very startling.
Now, why do these startle us? Because we look at these words and we use them as if they are reality words. They are not reality words. I've done this with groups all over Arizona, and I've never seen a whole run of them all matching. I've never seen more than 2 matching. It's really interesting to realize how much of a spread can happen in these words. Often it's somewhere between 40 and 80. Frequently it's somewhere between 35 and 100. How does that show up? You say something to someone and you say, let's say you're doing a performance evaluation, or you get your performance evaluation at work, and your boss says, you are frequently on time. And you say, what? Right? Or your boss says, almost always you mess up. Like, cool. But they really mean that, and they give you a negative raise, right? You start to realize that these words which we use all the time end up with conversations or arguments where we say, that's not what I meant. Understanding that someone else's perception might be different from yours. All right? So we talked about the lesson being what you say or do matters less than what they hear or feel. This is the foundation of all communication. Right? And understanding that communication is the foundation of all human relationships, it's really powerful to realize that. Now, here's the thing. They will perceive things differently than you will. They meaning anyone other than you. And because of that, those perceptions will determine their actions, meaning they will act differently than you expect them to act, which causes frustration. Right? We talked about frustration being one of the killers of innovation, or the killers of success. This happens because we expect people to behave the same way we would, but they never do. Because all of us have a different, unique set of experiences leading up to this very moment. And those experiences help us understand how we perceive the world. Pretty powerful. All right, so I'm going to run you guys through the Stroop Test. Anyone ever done the Stroop Test? It's a psychological test. Don't worry, I will not grade you. All right, but we're going to go through it. In the Stroop Test, I'm going to show you shapes. Okay? All that you have to do is identify the color of the shape. You don't have to identify the shape. It's not like quadrilateral and parallelogram, right? Which we are working on in 4th grade with my son. Just the color. So go ahead and identify this color. Blue. Well done. Sometimes there'll be multiple shapes. Go ahead. Yellow, orange, I'll accept both. All right? So I'm going to be showing you these shapes in rapid succession, and it's going to go faster and faster as you get the hang of it, and we'll keep going. All I need you to do is, I want everyone to participate and shout out the color of the shapes. Okay? If there are multiple shapes, they will all be the same color, so it's not going to be a trick like that. All right? Everyone ready? Your brain warmed up? Here we go.
White, blue, purple, blue, yellow, orange, red, green, purple, red, blue, white, yellow, purple, white, green, blue, purple, red, green, white, blue, yellow.
What happened? You guys started out so good, so confident. What happened? Why did it break down? What happened? Why? I didn't ask you to read the words. All I said was identify the shapes. Now, it's not my fault that the shapes happen to be letters, and the letters happen to make words, and those words happen to be color words that didn't match the color of the shapes. That's not my fault. All I said was identify the shapes, right? But why was that so hard? Because reading distracted you from the ultimate task. Reading distracted you from the ultimate task. Now, has anyone ever been distracted?
All the time.
You just were, right? Anyone ever get distracted with technology?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm in the middle of writing a book right now, and I'm writing it on my computer. I'm writing in Google Docs, which is a website, which means that just a little click away, there's the new tab button with infinite possibilities of distraction, right? And I find that distraction takes me away, not only from the task, but actually takes my time away, because when I come back to the task, I have to get my brain wrapped back up to where I want to be, right? Now, this is what I call destruction from distraction. What that means is that your cognitive ability actually reduces when you're distracted. You had a simple task to identify the color of the shape. And because of distraction, you took extra seconds to identify the color. It's like yellow, red, right? Because your cognitive ability is reduced when you're distracted. Even if you just have your cell phone on the table, your cognitive ability will go down. Because if it's face down, you have to actively not look at it. Right? You have to say, I'm not going to be distracted by this thing, which requires cognitive ability. Willpower is a finite resource, scientists have found. The more you use it, the less you have of it available. So it takes cognitive resources to not be distracted by that phone. And then even if you glance at it, like, right, your brain goes to all of the things you would be doing on that phone, whether it's email or Snapchat or Instaface or whatever, right? All of these things you would be doing, checking your notifications. I don't know, playing a game. What's the new one out? Fortnite. Anyone playing Fortnite? I heard it's like stealing little kids because it takes so much time. Don't download that game, I've heard, right? But think about how much distraction gets in our way, right? Now, fear and frustration, those two things we're talking about that kill our success, those are distractions. When we're afraid, that's a distraction from our own success. When we get frustrated with someone, that's a distraction from our own success. When we fail and get frustrated, that's a distraction. Failure is a point in time. What we want to do is we want to label ourselves as that. Right? I do a lot of coaching, and people say, yeah, I'm such a failure. Really? Because aren't you up walking around right now? Aren't you living and breathing and being successful at life right now? Yeah, but I totally messed up this project. Great. That project failed. Some of the things you did made that fail. You are not a failure. Because if you label yourself as a failure, you are not more likely to succeed in the future. Identify it for what it is. I made a mistake. Let's move on. Let's learn that lesson. Right? I want to talk to you guys. I've got 2 minutes left.
For food.
2 minutes left for food. I'm staying between you and dinner. I'm going to go through this really quickly. All right? New phone just came out. Best phone, brand new, amazing engineering. It's the best screen we've ever made. Amazing battery, unbelievable camera, best software experience. Committed to security, lightning fast, tons of RAM. It's the best phone we've ever made. It's a huge, beautiful screen. I am clearly talking about the BlackBerry Motion. Was no one thinking the BlackBerry Motion? This is a real phone, by the way. BlackBerry still makes phones. Right? It's a real phone released in October, and all of those words describe the BlackBerry Motion. Now, who was thinking iPhone 10, iPhone 8? Who was thinking Samsung Galaxy S9? Who was thinking Google Pixel? Pixel 2? That's my girl. Right?
It could be either of the three.
Absolutely. It could be any of them. Right? But I was talking about the BlackBerry Motion. This principle is called the validation of truth. Truth is in quotes, and I'll explain what that means. Right? You, as soon as I said new phone, it's the best phone, you probably thought about what phone it was. Right? And then every single thing that I listed confirmed that you were right. Because you love doing that. We love to validate what we want, right? It's called confirmation bias. A confirmation bias, right, it says we're often looking for evidence to confirm that which we already believe. Was anyone surprised at the last presidential election at the outcome?
Yeah.
Do you know why? Because of confirmation bias. 3 days before the election, there were 2 news articles sent. One was from Huffington Post, which said Donald Trump has a less than 1% chance of winning. And one was from 538, which said Donald Trump has a 34% chance of winning. Guess which one was shared more often? Huffington Post. And this is not a liberal or conservative viewpoint. Fox News shared the 1%. Because we all believed it wasn't possible. So we looked for evidence and shared evidence that which we already believed was true. And so we're all shocked. Everyone, every side of the aisle. What? Donald Trump was shocked. You see the videos? He's like, right? Everyone was shocked. It's not about rightness or wrongness. It's understanding that confirmation bias exists. So remember, all of our frustrations, all of our fears, confirmation bias says, look, you're right to be frustrated. They don't understand you. Look, you're right to be afraid. You're never going to be good enough. Confirmation bias is trying to reinforce that which you already believe. Understand that that's going on. Who drives a car? What kind of car do you drive, Melissa? Nissan Maxima. How long have you had your Nissan Maxima?
4 years.
4 years. So think about 4 years and, 2 weeks ago, when you decided Nissan Maxima is the car for me. What did you see on the road? Everywhere. She's going to say 0%. She's such a contrarian, right? Maximas, right? You see more of the car you decide to buy once you decide to buy it. Anyone else have that experience? Of course, we all have.
When you're expecting, you see pregnant mothers everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. Right, I went into a restaurant, it was Joe's Farm Grill. And I realized, this is when my wife was pregnant, realized there are 2 other pregnant women here. This must be a good restaurant because pregnant women eat here. Right? Every other time I've ever been to Joe's Farm Grill in Gilbert, I see at least 3 pregnant women. Are there more because all of a sudden I decided that's the right thing to do? No, they've always been there. I see them now. That's confirmation bias, right? We're looking for evidence to confirm that which we already believe. Now, really important thing called bias blind spot. If you're going through this and you're thinking of 2 or 3 people that you think really should understand this or learn these things that I'm talking about, it's really important to understand that we have an inability to see our own biases and are really good at seeing the biases of others, right? We say things like, Lord, help me to forgive those who sin differently than I do, right? So thinking about that list of people, you need to realize that you are on the list for somebody else. Definitely. All right, now, I teach in a way that's kind of like drinking from a fire hose. I give you a ton of information in a very short period of time, even though I take too much time. Sorry, Julie. We're almost done. All right, so what I want you to do, I don't want you to go and memorize and learn all this and act on it. I want you to be aware of it. I'm talking about awareness because with awareness, something really magical happens. So I'm going to show you this image, and in this image there is something to be seen. You'll know when you see it. It's not going to be ambiguous. I don't need to say what it is, but when you see it, you'll know you see it. Does anyone see it now? Raise your hand. Okay, got a couple people. All right. Don't raise your hand tentatively. You'll know when you see it. All right. I'm going to give you a couple of hints to make sure that everyone can see it before we finish up. The first hint is look for a cigar. All right. The thing you think you see is part of it. All right. Now the next hint, I'm going to drain all of the color from the image and leave just the cigar. All right, if you don't yet see it, that thing you thought you saw, that's the ashes of the cigar sticking out of that wall. Right out of that hole right there. Does everyone see it? Because I can't move forward until everyone sees it. If you don't see it and you don't want to admit it, just elbow your neighbor and say, help, help. All right, everyone sees it? No? Help. Someone help her.
It's brown.
Right? So this is a cigar. And that's the ashes. It's sticking out of that hole in the wall. Can you see it yet? Kind of. All right, it'll come. All right, so I'm going to put the image back the way it was before. And the funny thing is, the thing you couldn't see, because you're aware of it, you can never not see it anymore. Because of awareness, because you're aware, you can see it, and now you can never not see it. That's the power of awareness. When you start to see the illusion of certainty showing up in your life, there it is again. Eric was talking about that thing. Or you see perception reality showing up. You see fear and frustration showing up. Now you're aware of it, you can never not see it. That's the whole point of what I do. And so with that, thank you very much.